Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wormhole. I'm your host Wormeck. This is the show where we take a look at various new and or not so new games, and I give you my kind of early impressions of the game while we take a look at some gameplay. So today we're going to be taking a look at a game still in beta. This is Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft. This is Blizzard's upcoming free-to-play card game. Now, if you've never played a card game before, this is definitely one that's a pretty easy one to get into, and I'm going to be kind of showing you a little bit about why and explaining the mechanics of the game. So because it's a card game, there's a little bit less gameplay to kind of go through, so this is going to be a little bit more explanations for a little bit, and then we will of course actually play through a game. But the basics of the game is pretty straightforward. There's not really a whole lot super complicated to it. It's like early Magic in the sense of limited abilities and general gameplay mechanics. So, let's start out just by showing you a few little details here. So you do have a number of classes. So you've got Druid, Hunter, Mage, Paladin, Priest, Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, Warrior, and Neutral, essentially general card pool that anyone can take from. These card stats I'll explain really quickly here. So the first number in the top corner is the mana cost. You start out with 1 mana at turn 1, and each turn you get +1 max mana, so eventually it caps out at 10, so you can have a maximum of 10 mana per turn, barring use of cards or abilities that give you extra. So this controls how much you can kind of summon and play from your hand each turn. This number in the bottom right corner here with the sword is the card's attack power. That is obviously how much damage it's going to do. And this little blood drop here, if you can't guess, is the life of the card. So that only applies to minions. Minions being like creatures in games like Magic and that kind of thing, so they're essentially the brunt of your deck usually. Obviously if you do more damage than it has life, it will die, and vice versa. The creatures also have a number of different special abilities. The most common ones are Battle Cry, which is when the card, as it says right there, when it does something when you play it from your hand. So if you play, for example, this Abusive Sergeant on your turn, you can give a friendly minion +2 attack this turn. It does not include him, of course. Cards like Taunt force enemies to attack that creature first. Then there's general abilities like all other Murlocs have +1 attack. That's just a passive always on effect. If it doesn't specify Battle Cry or something, it is always active. Charge lets you attack immediately when you play it. Normally it has like a summoning sickness, and the first turn after they're summoned they can't do anything. And yeah, there are other modifiers like Stealth, where until the creature has attacked, nothing can attack or target it directly. Spell damage is to increase the damage of your spells, if you couldn't guess that. And yeah, that's kind of the basics of the cards. The actual cards themselves have different rarities, like this guy here is a rare Epic, I believe, for purple. It's been a while I haven't played World of Warcraft, but yeah, purple is Epic. There's also legendary cards and whatnot, and there are rares which have a blue gem, and you get like commons and whatnot. So the ones that don't have a thing, I believe, are ones that I started with, and anything that I've got in booster packs does have a card rarity to it. Each of the heroes has their own special ability, as well as obviously their own card pool as well, so each class gets their own special cards that are unique to them, and yeah. So that's kind of it for that. I'm not going to go over the whole deck building because it's pretty basic. There is a crafting mode where you can combine extra cards and turn them into dust. As you can see here, you get this dust that is used to either craft this card, which this is the crafting side. It'll cost me 40 dust to make an Eviscerate card, or I can sacrifice one for 5. So it'll give me, you can disenchant your cards if you have duplicates of things you don't need and that kind of thing. You can only ever put a maximum of 2 cards in your deck at once, and cards in your deck aren't like removed from your pool, so you can have the same card in multiple decks if you wanted to. So there's not really a reason to ever have more than 2. So, last thing we'll take a look at before some gameplay is these 2 other buttons here. So, the store, as I mentioned earlier, it's a free-to-play. These prices may or may not be final. As I mentioned earlier, this is a beta, so it's very possible this will change. I believe this is probably going to be final, since you can already purchase these now with real money, and they're supposed to carry over to the final release. But yes, you can buy packs with gold, which is the currency down in the bottom corner here. You get that from playing games, winning in the arena, and that kind of thing. Or you can purchase multiple packs for direct hard cash. The interesting, actually, the arena, normally you have to pay either gold, which is 150 gold, or 199, I believe. Yeah, 199. So 1 pack for 100 or 2 packs for 299. The arena is actually a better value for that in terms of the equivalent gold to dollars. However, you don't always get, I believe you always get a pack, so you're always getting at least 1 pack, so it's 100 gold equivalent. So essentially the arena costs you about 50 gold if you really want to think about it that way, if you're purchasing with your gold money. So it ends up being pretty worth it in the long run, in my mind. Buying packs doesn't seem all that great. I mean, they are random packs, of course, and you do get some throughout playing occasionally, and as you compete in the arena you can get better decks and better cards and that kind of thing. So we'll go into a practice match against an AI here just to show you the general gameplay. I generally prefer the Shaman myself. I've also played the Druid pretty much, and Mage. I've played a little bit of most of the classes, but I haven't actually gone through all that extensively with most of the classes, since it takes time to unlock all the cards, and I played a Shaman and a Druid as my mains in World of Warcraft, so it's kind of a no-brainer to me as to what classes I was most interested in. So these are expert difficulty AI. You start with only normal, and once you beat them all then you get expert. You also do have to beat all of them to unlock all the different hero decks. You start with just mage by default. The AI is pretty dumb even on expert, so let's go with expert warrior. Alright.
Versus Garrosh.
This is the board.
For Doomhammer.
So I get to go first, so I only have 3 cards in my starting hand. If you go second, you get 4 cards, so you get an extra card, as well as getting the coin, which you can spend. It's essentially a card that you can only play once, and it gives you 1 mana for that 1 turn alone. So on my starting turn, these are the cards I have. A Razorfen Hunter. Costs me 3 mana, it gives me a 1/1 boar when I summon it, so essentially you can kind of think of it as almost a 3/4, but not exactly. 2 mana Novice Engineer, Battlecry, draw a card. Drawing cards is really important since you do only have a fixed 30 card limit in this game. It's very important to make sure that you get a good card from your deck. It's kind of limited, so you can kind of expect what you can kind of get. It's not like a game where you have 60 cards or more. You can be reasonably sure you'll see most of your cards at any point, especially if you have 2 of each. And last, 4 mana cost, Gnomish Inventor, Battlecry, also draw a card. So I'm looking pretty good for my turn 2 right now, and then turn 3, and then turn 4. So I like to have kind of a spread like that just to make sure that I have something for the early turns. A 1 mana cost would be ideal, but I don't really want to discard these and risk getting something really expensive like a 6 or 7 plus mana cost card, so I'm just going to stick with these for now. Alright, so this is the field. It's kind of nice. You can kind of interact with certain things, like this little fan, ring the gong, pop some melons, that kind of thing. So this is my turn. So this is the general thing here. Each hero has their own ability. So the Shaman summons a random totem. There's 4 different totems you can summon. One's a taunt totem. There's one that heals all of your minions at the end of their turn by 1 point. One gives you +1 spell damage, which is pretty cool if you have lots of spells. And the last one is a 1/1 minion regular creature. They do cost 2 mana, but you can use this whenever you want, regardless of what cards you have in your hand. The warrior, for example, has a hero power of, for 2 mana, he gets 2 armor, which is pretty cool. This is a little bit more directly offensive, his is more defensive, but it lets him kind of get really beefy if you can't get through his creatures or something like that for a little while. So on turn 1, I don't have enough mana to do anything. My new card that I drew is Bloodlust, which I can use to give all my minions +3 this turn. It's very powerful, but only really useful if you have lots of creatures out at once. Obviously they also have to not be summoning Sickness. So there's the card he's using the coin, as I mentioned. So Amani Berserker. Enrage is a modifier I didn't mention earlier because I didn't see a card with it and I'd forgotten because I don't usually like Enrage cards too much. But Enrage basically means that when it takes damage, it will get its effect. So if it takes 1 point of damage, or as long as it doesn't die and takes damage, it will get 3 extra attack and it will become a 5/3 creature minus however much damage it did take. So it's pretty dangerous. If I summon this, for example, he'll probably just bounce off of it and kill my guy and get ridiculous damage. But I don't really have much else to do. Better to do that than let him hit my life, and the AI is stupid, they might just attack me directly anyway. Swamp Ooze is very good against warriors. They focus a lot on weapons, so destroying my opponent's weapon when I play it is pretty good. So there you go, he just boosted himself. And there's a taunt creature. It does have no attack, so I can safely kind of fling off of it without a whole lot of risk to myself. Now, if I summon this, I will be in pretty good shape. I don't really want to summon the Ooze yet because it doesn't have any weapon. It's always better to play to that card's strength. And Bloodfenton Raptor, which is a 3/2 creature for 2. So this was a pretty good value, but he can easily kill it with this guy, and then they'll just cancel each other out. So let's go with the 4.
Don't mess with Tusker.
Job done.
And on the side here, you can see the list of what's been played. So he gets to draw 1 card because he's got 1 damaged guy. And now he has a 1/3 weapon. So weapons are a little bit different. They do... It lets your hero by default can't attack. This particular weapon lets you attack for 1 damage, and the number on the right is the durability. That's how many times you can use it. Each time you attack with it, it loses 1 durability off of it, as you would kind of guess based on that description I just gave. Yep. So this is where I can start getting a bit more interesting. I can play my 4-cost creature, draw a card, which will not be all that helpful, or I could play these 2 creatures, destroy his weapon, and get out 2 3/2 creatures for the same mana cost as this 2/4. I also have this Raid Leader. This deck has a lot of cards that can boost all my other creatures. Since as a shaman, I can easily get out a bunch of little weak creatures. So I like to have cards that boost up my whole deck. So in this case, I'm going to go with the Ooze. He will probably have other weapons later, but it's at least a good chance to get rid of it. And since this does 2 damage, it's got 2 life, I don't really want him to kill my creatures that have 3 damage, so I'm just going to... I can't, that's true. Well, I'm going to start flanking on that at least. I forgot about his taunt creature. See, this is where I'm talking about the AI is not super bright sometimes. That was a pretty decent move. He just used Shield Slam to do 2 damage to a minion. If I was him, I would have used this card, his Berserker, to kill off one of my guys, because it would definitely have been more useful to him in the long run. For example, now I could use either of these to kill this, and either use the other one to kill this, which will kill my card, or I can Frost Shock. So it'll deal 1 damage to a creature, and it will also freeze it. Now, freeze makes it so that that card can't act next turn, so that's a pretty good option. If I'm lucky and I use my totem, I might get the spell damage totem. If I get the spell damage totem, this will do 2 damage, and I'll be able to kill this creature, which is super cost effective for 3 mana, and I get to keep the spell damage card for later. Bloodlust not very useful to me right now. Obviously I can't play my 7 cost. This could be good, but not great, and I don't really have enough minions for this to be super worth it since I still have to beat down the shield. So I am going to go ahead and try my luck. And I didn't get it. But hey, I can use my freeze still on this guy, and the next turn just kill it with my little cheap totem and not really have lost anything.
Sucks. Steal.
Now I can attack either directly because he doesn't have any taunt creatures, or I can kill either of his guys. They will get to attack me back, so I don't want to attack this guy. This one I could do. It'll bring me down to 1 HP on my slime, but it'll get rid of one of his extra attacking creatures, which is never a bad idea. But I think in this case I'm just going to go for him, and the next turn I'll use my Boar Hunter to kill the archer. The order of what you're doing is always a good idea to think about.
You shall not pass.
Of course. Well, that won't really change a whole lot for my thoughts, it just kind of slows it down a little bit, unfortunately. Now I've got my own taunt creature, and the Lord of the Arena is very good. 6 cost, 6 damage, 5 HP taunt creature is pretty tough. It usually kills a couple creatures before you get it down, unless he plays in a card that can do a lot of damage pretty quickly. So, that will take all of my mana, but I'm okay with that because that is a useful card for me. Now, I can attack with all these, but I want to kill this first. And now I'll use my totem to kill that for super cost efficiency. So this is a taunt creature with Death Rattle. Death Rattle doesn't affect when it dies. Oh, yeah. Execute is kind of annoying. As soon as you've taken at least 1 point of damage, you can destroy a creature. So that kind of sucked. As I was saying, Death Rattle is an effect that when you kill the creature, it does something. So in this case, it'll deal 2 damage to all characters. So yeah, in that case, that'll kill anything that I have, which kind of sucks. However, in this case anyway, I would have to use both of my creatures to get rid of him regardless. So, +1/+1. Now if I play my Stormwind Champion, this will become a 4/3, and this becomes a 3/4, which means that either of them would survive the 2 damage afterwards, but neither of them would survive the actual attack against it. But it could be worthwhile to do anyway. 7 mana. Yeah, we'll go for that.
Behold the might of Stormwind!
Now, I would have to use my slime to kill this guy because he's the only one that does enough damage. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to get rid of this because I don't like him having creatures, especially taunt creatures. Kind of sucked, but at least all my cards survived, and now I can deal some direct damage to him. I've got to be careful because I'm getting a little low at 14 to 25. Alright. Please, Stormwind Champion. Yes. Good. Well played, AI Garrosh. And now I get Hex. So with Hex, I could have turned his 4/4 taunt into a 0/1 with taunt, and it would have lost its special ability. That would have been pretty cool. Unfortunately, it is now too late. So we're just going to play a bunch of cards. So, Summoner, my Boar. Now I got 4 mana left. I could summon a Totem and my Raid Leader, which I think is what I might do. I don't really need the card draw just yet. That'll be good for next turn. Let's see what we get. Okay, so Stoneclaw Totem, the taunt totem I mentioned earlier, which is pretty nice because now I don't have to worry about this guy getting killed instantly.
May my ancestors watch.
So again, he's got Enrage. They have Enrage and Taunt. Oh god. Well, that's kind of annoying. Alright, well, I can Hex one of them, turn it into a 0/1, which may be worthwhile to do since otherwise I will lose 2 creatures. Let's do that. Not really the best way of going about it, but I don't have a ton of other options right now. Unfortunately, whatever I attack with is going to die, so I'd much rather keep my Raid Leader alive than this, even though this has higher damage, simply because this boosts all my other creatures, which is really good with my totems. So, let's... No, that would be stupid. Bloodlusting would be a bad idea. Let's see what we get from a totem. If I get the healing one, I'm pretty good. I got the healing one. Good. Now, I want to keep my taunt alive, because taunt is very important, even if it only delays by 1 turn. I'm sorry, Razorfen Hunter, but you're sacrificial. So this totem will heal all of my minions by 1 health at the end of each turn. So this will actually get both of these guys back to max, which is pretty cool. I got 4 left. Let's go with the more expensive one. Good, so that'll give me another taunt for next turn, and don't forget to attack. Here we go.
Try this.
2/2 weapon. Most players in this game tend to like to break things. This is actually probably the least interesting map. Most of them have all kinds of stuff you can click on and they kind of break and fall off and things. But this one's kind of boring, I've found. Okay, well I've got another Bloodlust. Let's start with the Taunt creature though, because I don't want to forget him. Now, if I Bloodlust, right now this turn, I would have 15 damage that I can do immediately, which is pretty good. I have 2 Bloodlust cards. It may be worthwhile doing that, and then next turn I can potentially just kill him outright. So 5 mana. This isn't a taunt creature, so I can easily bypass it, so let's go give that a shot. Not the most effective use of it, but he's going to start killing my creatures, and I want to get him down as close as I can. He doesn't have any more executes because he's already played 2, so it's pretty safe. I'm fine with that, because this turn he dies. Yep. So we just won the game. Just throw out the other card. Just because we can. And there you go. They explode very satisfyingly. And afterwards you get experience. You can get bonuses stuff while you level up, like new cards for the first 10 levels. You unlock cards every level or 2. And yeah, for practice you don't really get much else. If you play in the play mode, you're playing against another live player. That gets you extra rewards via quests, which I didn't actually go over yet. So you get daily quests and stuff that, like here, if I do Hunter and Mage victories, if I get 2 Hunter and Mage victories, I'll get 40 gold and so on. Those don't work in practice because obviously AI is kind of derp. Yeah, so you kind of get 2 quests per day. There's 3 slots, so you can always leave one over from a previous day if you want to, if there's something you don't like. And that's pretty much it for Hearthstone. I'm going to be doing another video shortly for the arena. I have enough gold, as I pointed out earlier, to do an arena run. So that's something I definitely want to go through and show you guys. So for 150 I can go through and build a deck and then play through it. It's essentially a sealed tournament, so you don't get to bring your own custom deck. You have to choose from cards as you go. So we'll take a look at that next time. For the time being, that's all we're looking at for today. So check out Hearthstone, it's definitely interesting. It's still in beta, so unfortunately you can't go and download it whenever you want, but they've been giving out beta keys pretty quick, and a lot of times you can find stuff. There's a Reddit forum for Hearthstone as well. You might be able to get someone generous to give you a key there if you're lucky, but a lot of people are, of course, asking. I'm definitely having a lot of fun with it. I've been playing a lot of this game in my spare time, just quick games, 15-20 minutes here or there against people. And it's pretty cool. Check it on out. So until next time, with our look at the arena, it's Wormeck heading out. See you guys next time.